All right, so if you're currently hovering over this video, or you just said, fuck it, I'm going to watch it because it seems interesting, you're here for one core reason, because you want to book 30 to 50 qualified sales calls every single day, and do it with call funnels, and do it with a ridiculously profitable return, and do it with high-ticket products and services such as coaching, consulting, agency business, whatever it is that you sell. And you're probably wondering, although, yes, I want that result, who the hell is this guy sitting in this random Miami balcony on a chair with a hoodie, and how do I know he could actually get me results? Well, I'll go ahead and show you what we made for one of our clients in just 3 days. That's $119,000. And if we look at just the first 2 days of this month, we are on $50,000. Now, if we look at some of our, first week stats, first 8 days of the month, that is $217,000. Are you happy? Great, cool. Now let's get back to the presentation and show you what actually happens from here. And if the screen was moving fast, here's a day where we booked 63 calls for $37 each. Keep in mind, this offer is around $450 cash per call. So that is a ridiculously profitable return on ad spend. And as you can see, this is a $50,000 a day from the client that I just showed you. Now, maybe your breakdown of what we're going to be going over in today's video. Number one is going to be financially modeling, which is breaking down, okay, what exactly based off our past metrics do we need to spend and calls do we need to book to be able to get X result, 100K, 200K, 500K a month, $1 million a month, whatever it is you're striving for. The most important KPIs to track to be able to make that work, the exact ad strategy, full campaign setup, the funnel strategy, lead scoring and routing to make sure the best closers get the best leads to make you the most amount of money, pre-call sales process to make sure people show up framed, ready to buy, turn your salespeople not into salespeople but cashiers, and how to implement a one-call close process the right way so you don't have to worry about 2-call close drop-off, and you could actually make sure you get deals closed in as little as 3 to 5 days consistently, shortening your sales cycle, collecting cash fast, and making sure your call funnel is profitable. Now, to first dive in. Financial modeling and projections is one of the most important things, and the two most important KPIs, despite close rate, show rate, all these things, is how much does it cost to get you a call and how much is your average cash per call. And so the way we calculate this is, let's say you said get $50 per call, $500 is your average cash per call, and it takes you 10 scheduled calls to get a closed deal. Your average AOV is $5,000. That means cost per acquisition, obviously, is an important metric, but this is an easy front-end metric. That means your 500 cash per call, right? Cost to acquire a customer is super important, but it's something that takes a little bit longer to be able to anticipate versus if you know that, your team has averaged a $500, $600 cash per call, which is, let's just do the math here, right? Let's say you book 120 calls in a month and you collect $100,000. You divide that by 120, that's $833 per call. If you're at a $200 cost per call and you think that's high, you're still 4Xing your money, right? So these are very, very good numbers. This is a 10X return. Now, if you have these numbers, fucking scale. It's simple as that. The most important metrics to look at, there's so many people that they'll burn so much time. Oh, my show rate's low. Let me switch to a 2-call close. Let me do all this stuff. What my close rate's low. Let me fire these closers when they are still extremely profitable and they just need to do more of what's working. Obviously, yes, you can improve show rate. You can increase a lot of things with a lot of the pre-call process that I'm going to talk to you about later, and same with the framing. But still, these are numbers you could scale with extremely well. Now, this is what things look like, is when you're financial modeling and you're trying to anticipate, hey, I want to hit, let's just say $500,000 a month. Let's look at 3 cases. Middle case, let's say, is I hit $500,000 a month. Let's say you have a stretch goal, which is $700,000 a month, and your worst case is, let's say, like a $300,000 a month, right? And let's say you're putting in whatever in ad spend. Let's just use a $90,000 in ad spend as an example. Your worst case, let's say your average is $70 cost per call. Worst case scenario, you get 100. Best case scenario, you're down to 50. Are you willing to settle for the worst case of a 1.5x ROAS? Let's say you have a, not good show rate, 50%. Let's say 10% close rate. Your AOV on a 5K product is 3.5. Are you willing to settle for this? If so, scale. Average case, settle for this, scale. Best case, 10x, scale. These are numbers to where you always have to look at it from the lens of, let's say my costs inflate dramatically. Am I still willing to settle for that? And if so, put money on the table and spend. Advertising is literally strategic gambling. You have to look at your past data and say, hey, based off that, what can I hope to accomplish? Now, if you're someone that's only ever done organic, and let's say you do the math and it's $1,000 cost per call, cut that in half. And realistically, that's probably what it's going to be from paid. That when you start, it'll get better over time. but organic sales teams have trouble matching the paid. It takes time. So keep that in mind, and this is how you want to be able to scale. Now, the next thing is going to be funnel strategy, because there's a lot of very, very simple things that people will get wrong before we go into the campaign setup. But there's really two main things. You're going to have your confirmation pages and your landing pages. Now, there's two ways that we will run it, and I'll give you an example of both. First, we're going to start off with B2C examples of some of my clients. Now, this is one right here. This is Tube Accelerator. This is a YouTube automation offer. And just to break it down, the whole market is people looking to start an online business. Now, we have two pieces of messaging in our ads. One is in-market people already, trying to make money on YouTube, things of that nature. And then our second market, or, not targeting, but messaging is forwarded much more to people already looking to get into online business. And the whole angle is like, hey, there's really no startup cost, all that stuff, right? But landing page, simple. Want to start an online business? Learn how over 11,000 everyday people are making consistent income with YouTube automation in 2025 without XYZ limiting beliefs. So without prior experience, showing your face, and in less than 2 hours per day. And then we have the type form, which we'll get into in a little bit, right? With this specific one, we have a rapid engage bar for the VSL, which it looks like it's shorter than it is, but it's an engagement tactic. That's all it is. We use Vitalytics. Most of the time, we do run a 5-minute VSL timer, though, to make sure that there's consumption on the VSL prior. If you're noticing a very, very cheap cost per call, your form is extremely dialed in, you're still noticing people that aren't really getting framed aside from the pre-call stuff, 5-minute to 10-minute VSL timer, it won't increase your call by anything more than 20 to 30% if you actually have a good VSL, but your sales team will love you a lot more because it will be more efficient. Now, if you're selling to more affluent, and I'll just give you guys a quick example of what the timer looks like just so you could see it, but this is an example. Have to watch at least 5 minutes of the VSL. Now, if you're selling to a more affluent audience, per se, let's say you're selling to an audience that has money and they're sophisticated. This is an offer that we have to where we're selling to solar companies and roofers who have been sold to, marketed to. They've bought everything under the sun, and they've been burned before. And so they're not going to sit through your VSL. They want to be able to audit you. They want to be able to move quick with speed. And so a lot of these guys are already in marketing. They know they need marketing. They know they need lead gen. So we don't do any of the learn how XYZ amount of people are doing this, and this. We're straight to the point, direct to the offer. We build you an in-house automated in-house call center that books 100 plus appointments monthly without door-to-door sales teams, paid ads, or unreliable agencies, which is the things that they usually deal with. I'll give you another example. We have a client that we just brought on that is helping people buy businesses, right? And the biggest misconception that you probably think of when I tell you, hey, you want to start buying businesses is, well, don't I have to drop millions of dollars into businesses, or do I have to have business experience? When in reality, you don't really need any of those. You can actually buy a business for little to no money down, and the program will teach you how to run it. And so a lot of people will click off a page simply because they have a misconception. They don't think it's for them. And so being able to literally say, hey, we'll get you this result without what it usually would take to get this result based off things you've tried or heard of in the past, it helps quite a lot. Now, another thing here is with more affluent audiences, we always have chapters in our VSL because they're going to audit you. And what I mean by that is they're not going to sit here and go through your sales process. They want to figure out if you're right for them because they're sophisticated and they know what to look for. So they want to see, your offer, your results. They want to be able to go through some of this stuff, and they can easily skip around and do so. We have a type form, very, very simple, same exact process, Calendly integrated directly in type form. Don't use go high level funnels, and don't have a second book a call page on top of your lander because you're going to have a lot less efficiency with your page load speed. It's just not worthwhile, right? Now, once they schedule a call, there's a series of things that'll happen, which we'll talk about. Automated reminders, sales team calling them within 5 minutes, hammer them ads. Shout out Jeremy Haynes, by the way. Anywhere from 30 to 40 pieces of short form mixed with a little bit of long form content as well to ideally try to recreate the organic sales process. Now, and I want to say if you are running an offer that no one knows about, let's say you're trying to teach people how to, I don't know, because I don't really know the narrative. You have a very unique business model. You're going to need to leverage some content first ad strategies, which I'll talk about in a different video. This is for normal direct response. And if that's confusing, then all good. Just focus on this for now. Confirmation page is going to be the next most important thing, because when someone books in, imagine you are someone who wants to, let's just say, imagine you're someone that wanted to work with me, for instance, right? And you want to dial in your marketing, your sales process, and you want to scale to 6-figure months. Imagine below this YouTube video, I just linked you directly to a Calendly page, maybe a VSL. And once you book a call, you just it just says, hey, we'll see you on the call, bye, or something like that. And then you have all these questions, all these things, and instead of going and waiting for the call that you scheduled 2 days out, you just find a lot of it on YouTube, where you go to someone that could actually give you some like information prior, right? So instead, what we do is we amp the fuck out of our pre-call pages, and I'll show you a couple examples of what this looks like. All right, now diving on into it, we have 3 pre-call pages loading here. What you want to set up is very, very simple. You want to have a thank you video, which is breaking down essentially your sales process. And I don't mean like, hey, this is how we're going to sell you, but making sure they accept the calendar invite. So pre-call sales process, making sure that they're responding to the sales rep that's reaching out to them, making sure they're getting access to the emails, and making sure they're confirming their call and actually giving them some sort of value to show up to the call. And that could be anything. That could be, you know, a custom game plan for YouTube automation. That could be like the 20 best YouTube automation niches that are going to get you to succeed, incentivizing them to show up essentially. So they're not just, oh, this is a sales call. If I don't buy, then I'm cooked. And then that gives the salespeople more opportunity to close people because they have higher show rates and the same intent, if not better intent in a lot of cases. Now, I'll give you to an example of a really good pre-call page and someone who's been able to get us all of the videos we've needed perfectly. This is one of our newer clients, Jaden. This thank you page breaks down exactly. So like, welcome, how to confirm your call, due diligence help, breaking down the FAQs, the testimonials below, how this works, get questions answered, expectations for the everything that you need to feel comfortable showing up to the call and comfortable doing your due diligence. Now, next thing is breaking down exactly how to run the business that Jaden runs. It's a remote cleaning business, right? I'll give you another example. This is one of our offers. Oops, wrong one. Same video. Here, this is exactly how you build a call center, right? The same exact narrative. And the same thing here, right? Except we have this in, you know, the second section. But to give you an example, breaking down exactly how the business model works, linking to the YouTube, access to resource documents, FAQs, same thing over here. FAQ videos breaking down the most commonly asked questions. Now, the thing with this is a lot of people do the FAQs really, really wrong, and they just answer the questions. You need to turn each question into a reason that someone buys. So like, let's say someone is like, let's say someone is like, well, isn't this business model saturated? And so your rebuttal to that could be like, yeah, of course it's saturated, but when something is saturated, usually that means it's working. After all, look at my student X who is doing this, look at this guy who's doing this, and look at all these people doing this. You know the difference between the people that succeed and don't succeed? It's not about the people that succeed and don't succeed, it's the effort, because saturation and all these things, they're proof that it works, and this is proof that it works. I'm just riffing here, right? But you want to be able to use these videos as sales assets, not just answering questions that could potentially just scare someone away if you do it the wrong way. Now, next thing here, and the way you want to set up your campaigns is very, very simple. This is what we do. We'll always set up, and I'll go into the ads manager in just a second. We'll set up a CBO, and we'll run ad set that has just complete broad targeting, because Meta is, you know, biasing towards broad targeting nowadays. We'll almost always run dynamic creative, depending on the ad account, if it's still available. Ad set number 2 is a warm audience. So that could be, you know, 180-day IG visitors. That could be, you know, anything. If it's YouTube, then you need warm. Otherwise, it's really not going to perform nearly as great as it could. Lookalike. So this could be like a lookalike for, you know, people who have bought from you in the past, for instance. And we'll run the same creatives across the board across these 3. Now, the thing is, we're not always just going to have 3 ad sets, because usually we're going to be creative testing as well. So usually it's 3 ad sets for broad, 3 ad sets for warm, and 3 ad sets for lookalike, and it's all just the different creatives. Now, your angles are going to be one in market. So let's say I have one that's teaching people how to start Amazon FBA. So people that have already, one's going to be people that have already tried to start Amazon and haven't been successful or wanted to get into Amazon. Number 2 is going to be people that are looking to start an online business and, you know, whatever sort of situation. And number 3 is going to be problem aware. So people that hate their 9 to 5, they're not really into it, things of that nature, or they hate their situation. Now, you could also have a lot of sub pockets within this. So in market, you have multiple segments. You have people that are already successful on Amazon. You have people that have tried Amazon. You have people, you have multiple different ones. People that want to start an online business, people that, you know, don't like their job but want to start, people that are in college, they're young but they want to start, people that are in a corporate job that want to leave. There's so many different sub angles within these that you could be able to create. Now, when we go in and actually, let's see. Okay, yeah, this is a ad account. I could just go ahead and create some shit in. But when you go in and actually create it, just to show you guys the actual campaign setup. So manual leads campaign, we just minimize my screen. Very, very simple. So if I'm going into leads campaign, I'm not going to go through all of the warm audience, the lookalike audiences. You guys could just look up a simple YouTube video on that. That's not worth the time here for this video. But let's say I'm talking, I'm not going to put the effort into naming this. Come on, we don't need all that. Campaign budget optimization though. I don't recommend testing with anything under at least $100 a day. If you are running like 3 to 9 ad sets, I would test with at least 300 a day, at least. But then again, it just depends. If you have like less than 200, 300 a day, at that point, test with a warm audience or a lookalike audience and a broad audience. You don't want to disperse too much. Then we go into ad set. We almost never do instant forms. We'll always do website. And let's say we have a pixel selected, conversion API set up, and we want to select schedule. I haven't run ads for this I haven't run ads on this ad account in a long time, so it's not warmed up. Now your schedule, it needs to be linked to your thank you page. So for instance, if I have this thank you page, right? Every time someone not on applies, but every time someone schedules a call, they need to be immediately populated upon page load to hit the pixel, to keep it very, very simple. Now, dynamic creative will turn on. So there's that. We scroll down. We go into placements. We go into manual placements. And then we're going to go ahead and scroll down here. Turn these off because these suck. Just take my word for it. So you're going to turn off profile feeds. You are going to turn off marketplace. You're going to turn off column, explore. You should only see 3 on here. Yep, that's right. And then you want to turn off, where is it? Profile reels. The reason we turn off profile, which is kind of, I guess you would say micro controversial in a way, is usually it's not your profile. Usually someone's going through, their crush's profile, or they're going through, someone else's profile. And then they get hit something from another profile that's completely separate. That's conflict interest. We want to hit people when they're unbiased. And so that's why we do that, to keep it very, very simple. Now, some other things that you can mess with is obviously location, minimum age, keep it as 18. I never mess with this because usually our messaging is dialed in enough and we don't really get a bunch of like old folks. But if you're noticing that you are, then cap it at 60 or cap it at whatever age you need to cap it at. We only ever launch ads in the morning. We don't launch them midday. Doesn't make sense to do so. So it'd be as simple as 12 a.m. EDT. I'd click schedule and we would be good. Now to show you directly inside one of these campaigns and what they actually look like. Now this one specifically is already set up with winners, so I'm not having to go like duplicate out and test a bunch of variations. This is a winner campaign and we're just scaling it, right? So as you can see, we have CBO, we have everything set up. We're spending $3,500 a day on this one. Now lookalike winners, if I scroll down, you can see website. This is set up for schedule. I don't know why this thumbs up thing keeps popping up. Dynamic creative is on, and we have a lookalike audience, which this is all the people that have come through Hyros, and this is all of their previous customers prior to us ever actually coming and working on the account. Now this one actually crushes. This ad set gets roughly, I think, 50, 60 per call. The broad one is getting around 70, and then the middle one, the warm, is kind of all over the place. It's varying a lot, but most of our spend is going into broad and a little bit of lookalike, which is doing fine. Now, as you can see, all of these are set up as they should be. When I go into warm, just to show you what that actually looks like as well. Excuse the woo-woo exclusion. This is IG365. This was originally an exclusion we had set up, but this is pretty much everyone that registers for the webinar. It looks silly, but hey, it is what it is. When we run a webinar side by side from a call funnel, we always exclude people from each other. So if someone's just scheduled a call in the past 5 days, they're not going to get hit with webinar ads until 5 days goes by, and then vice versa as well, just to make sure things are congruent and we're not having people like dragged in a bunch of different directions, like they're walking through an outdoor mall and someone's trying to sell them cologne, another guy's trying to sell them an iPhone case, and because everyone's trying to sell them everything, they just really don't do anything. Now I go down to the broad. Again, broad as fuck. No really special anything about it. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you scroll down, we have, a couple primary texts. I'll select these sometimes if they're good. They don't really hurt or anything, so that's fine. We have all of our headlines here. And we have optimized creative for each person. We do also have Hyros hooked up, which you always should. All right, now let's dive into the pre-call process. I'm gonna make an entirely separate video here within the next week to 2 weeks, breaking down the exact strategies for messaging, although this is a very everything video. So unless it turns into an hour to 2 hour video, I don't have time to break down everything in immense detail. But I will be linking this exact document below for you to be able to go through and actually get access to these resources. And if you do want to work with me one-on-one, whether that's on a consulting basis or a done-for-you basis to help scale your offer as well, then that could be worked out also. Now, one-call close process, in my opinion, is much higher leverage to add more friction in marketing than the sales process, and it'll help feedback to the ad platforms better. So let's look at it, right? Schedule, amazing pre-call sales process, closing call. Now, the way this works in comparison to your 2-call, which I'm not a fan of, unless you are selling ultra high ticket B2B to where you need multiple calls, multiple sales or longer sales cycles, to where schedule pre-call, call 2, call 1, call 2, and then you just have such a drop off and you get way less demos when you do it this way. And instead of adding friction to your sales process with human error, you just add friction to your marketing and tweak your messaging so you don't get a bunch of shitters on your setter's calendar, which therefore hurts your marketing performance anyways. But simple and straight to the point. Our pre-call sales process is very, very simple. We have immediate 24-hour and 1-hour reminders that are basically autoresponders that literally say, automate a reminder for X, and we're sending them pre-call resources on that they would see on the pre-call page. We're giving them the short form pre-call page, which is basically what we showed you guys. So like, here's an example. We have our, quick 2-minute explainer video. We have this video with chapters breaking down everything. And instead of these long videos and combining the breakdown video, the FAQ videos, we're keeping it in a short form format to where they go from one video to the other and they could keep scrolling through it basically. And the leverage of this is most people are coming from short form platforms, Instagram. They're coming from watching minute-long videos. And so why are we going to take them from minute-long videos to 20-minute videos off rip? It just doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, VSLs, and there's a lot of engagement hacks that we could do, but a lot of people aren't going to watch your full VSL. It's just what it is, right? So we have to put it into a short-form format, and we have to, in a lot of cases, give chapters depending on how sophisticated your audience is to give people what they need, not what you want them to see. And when I say what they need to buy and what they need to make a decision, rather than making them go through fluff. Now, if you haven't noticed by now, based off all of this stuff, and I'll dive into it in a second, not everyone's going to go through their email. Not everyone's going to go through the pre-call page. And not everyone's going to scroll through Instagram and get hit by the hammer of them ads. But everyone is going to do at least one of each, almost always, which gives us the leverage to hit them from every angle. So hammer them with 30+ short-form retargeting reels. And so what that looks like is your best performing short-form content, which ideally is more educational, frequently asked questions, that is testimonials. And if you don't have that already, then you need to make them to make this work and actually replicate the organic sales process. You have your automated reminders. You have 6 to 12 value-dense emails that are going out, ideally 2 to 3 a day. We've tried upwards of 6. We've also tried below 1, and it's either too much or too little. So that sweet spot remains. Now, we also have setters that call everyone within 5 minutes. And I mean everyone within 5 minutes, unless it's like past hours. And we have systems in place to be able to make sure that they actually do it. Which is something that I actually break down for everyone in my consulting deals and everyone that I actually work with on a done-for-you basis, so that we can consistently keep setters accountable and consistently keep them hungry and have the processes dialed in so it's easy. Because that's the most important thing, is reducing friction for people to call people fast. But calls people within 5 minutes, send them personalized resources based off what they are looking for, not just like, here's the video that I have everyone watch, and then 3-way group chat with the closer, manual confirmations on top of everything else to make things silky smooth. Now, here's some important metrics to actually track as a sales manager. You need to think like a marketer. And I know that sounds crazy, but every sales manager wants to focus on, who has the best close rate, who has the best show rate. And although these things are extremely important, especially show rate, especially close rate, and some of these other metrics, the most important metric is if you pay on average $750 per call and you get like 500 to 700 out, you're profitable. And if you have a rep, we had a sales manager on an account. I actually made a reel about this the other day, but we had a sales manager on an account that we had a rep that was lower percentile in terms of close rate, but still collecting 50, 60 grand a month. And he's about to fire them, just about to like completely boot them. We're like, wait, hold on. Let's look at the data here, right? On average, we were getting, roughly $70-ish per call. I think his average cash per call was a bit over 400. And so we're still close to 5xing money, even on a low performing rep. If we fire him, we're losing 50 to 60 grand a month that he's collecting. Now, the argument can be, well, let's hire someone else in his place. But why would you replace someone who is profitable for you? Why not just bring on another guy anyways, right? And so the metrics you need to track to determine who's a performer and who's not is, are they profitable based off the money that you're spending? Simple and plain. And if it's organic, then imagine you're spending. So like, let's say your average cash per call in organic is 1,000 and your low performing rep is a 600. Well, if you're B2C like BizOp, and on average it would probably cost you less than $100 to get a call, then he's good. Keep him. However, if it's organic, then there could be some arguments because lead flow is limited, which again is why you should do paid. But again, very important metrics to keep in mind. Now, across the board, important metrics that you need to understand is AOV. Your offer is 5K, but it doesn't always mean people are going to pay 5K up front. So you need to maintain at least a 70% AOV. And if you don't have that, then you're targeting too many broke people or you don't have good financing options. There's a problem. Schedule to close. This is extremely important. And the metric on this is if you have 10 calls from paid, you should be closing at least 15% of schedules. 10% on the low end, but at least 15% is ideal. That means if you have below that, means your show rate probably sucks and your close rate probably sucks. And that's when those metrics actually come into play, which is next. At least 60% plus on cold, 10, booked, 6 actually show. Cash per call should be at least 3x the cost. If it's double, but ideally a lot more, right? We want to be at least 3x. Now, if you're spending, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a day, then don't expect to 10x your money all the time. Sometimes you're going to be, 2x, 3x, 4x, which is still great by all means, but that's just what you're going to have. Now, close rate cold on live calls, another thing. Now, important metrics to track for setters: dials per day, pickups to convos, convos to sets, and sets to outbound closes. Now, you could look at these metrics on your own. They're very, very simple. Depending on your lead flow, high amount of dials per day, 300 dials, 20% pickup. Pickups to convos should be at least 35%, convo to set 40%, and set to close from outbound should be 10 to 15. Don't hold them to the same high standard of your organic leads or your just straight up inbound bookings. They're always going to be a little bit lower, if not, straight up the same, which again, very, very rare, but it's always going to be a little bit lower. Now, CRM and softwares, if you have a big sales team, use Close. They love Close. Make it easy for them. Set up individual pipelines for each closer and set up auto assign for people who don't book and appointments that don't close after 7 days. Implement smart views, so new leads 7 days or older, appointments booked, appointments not closed, no shows existing clients in their program, upsell ready, renewal ready, etc. Everything that you need, and you could do this per specific closer. For outbound, if you're using any sort of like dialer, make sure you have A2P and CNAM set up and both registered and spam protect biweekly, which you could do on free call registry. We've had this issue on a lot of accounts, and we've started to make it our responsibility a lot more, but a lot of people are just using one number and they have dozens of setters and they're wondering why they're going through a spam likely. Newsflash, if you're using one number and calling it with it more than 70 times a day, you're going to get hit at spam. So register your phone numbers constantly and make sure you have number distribution set up. Otherwise, you're going to be cooked. We use SendBlue for a lot of accounts. There's even other cheaper alternatives as well, such as like Link and some others. We do tend to see the cheaper alternatives do tend to be a little bit more dicey, let's just say. But again, it depends on the account and the size of the account and the scale of the account, because that's the biggest thing. SendBlue and Link, you can hook up directly through high level. And when you're making group chats with, closers and setters, it makes it a lot more efficient because you could track it. And in some cases you could automate it, which you got to be somewhat careful with, but it's still there. And then Dial.io, if you're doing more than $1,000 a day as a team, it's a no-brainer. Again, I'm happy to answer questions in the comments if you're curious of the specificity. I think that's the word. Now, a couple more things. In terms of conditional lead routing and scoring. Sorry, I've been yapping for a moment. I had to take a pause there for a second. When conditional lead routing and scoring, this is going to be one of the most important things and something that I don't really see anyone talk about, especially not at a high level if they do. But you're able to do this within Typeform and some other platforms as well. But you want to be able to score people based off certain things. Now, we also do use lead file on some accounts. I know fan bases just to come out with a variant as well that I haven't tested super heavy. So again, not a claim for it, but shameless plug for a moment. Leadfly basically name, email, phone number allows you to actually get the exact granular data in terms of financial of, okay, what does this person have in terms of available capital? What is their yearly income? What is their average credit score? What could they reasonably spend right now on the cards they have? Which allows you to just know right off rip, because some people lie just to get on the phone with you. It sucks. But filter based off these things: current income, experience in XYZ model, or with XYZ lead generation, whatever it is, funds, and then route. So let's say you have a out of 9, right? If someone's income is low, they're a 1 out of 3. If their experience is low, it's a 1 out of 3. And if they have no money, then get rid of all their points and send them to a low ticket. And as you can see here, John, worst closer, he's going to always get the deals that need funding, more intermediate to little experience and little income. Bob, who's the middle level closer, let's say, he gets more of the middle level leads, which are more, they might need a payment plan. Maybe occasionally he'll get one that, could piff pretty consistently. They have decent income. Maybe they're, newer to it, a little bit more skeptical. And then Jamal, let's say best closer, I'm just throwing out random names here. He's going to get the best ones. So 5K plus, they're 9 out of 9 lead scores, or sometimes a little bit lower. But being able to do this, it sounds, kind of doesn't sound that exciting. But when you're able to get the best leads in your best closer's hands, that has the best cash per call, has the best metrics, you will make more money booking the same amount of calls just by not giving good leads to shit closers, right? It's simple, right? For instance, that the closer I talked about earlier, 40 to 50K or 50 to 60K a month roughly is what they're cash collecting. The solution wasn't to fire them. It's just to put them on the lesser quality leads, and simple as that, right? Obviously, we're not going to give them the best ones. It's very, very simple. There's roles for everyone that is profitable. In terms of the sales team pre-call process, it's very, very simple. Setters triage all new bookings, like I mentioned, as soon as they come in. But before calling, they need to text them, hey, this is just name from X. Simple, so that shows up as maybe name when they call. And then briefly do a discovery, go through a little bit of problem awareness. And so what that looks like is making sure they accept calendar invite, all that stuff. And then what is it they're ideally hoping to accomplish in terms of X? And then what are some maybe concerns or questions that they might have prior to the call to make it a no-brainer for them to show up and potentially move forward if it makes sense to do so. And based off that, we'll give them information and send them over resources they would need to consume prior to the call to check all those boxes to make it easier for our closers and shorten our sales cycles. Again, group chat with the closer, get them responsive. Closers should be sending voice notes. Make it human, right? People don't want to be feeling like they're taken through a sales process. That's the biggest thing. And then day of, manual confirmations, again, via call and manual reminders. Now, if people don't respond, voice note them. And don't just follow up with hey, did you see this? Send them value, send them YouTube videos based off their form, reach out to them with personal stuff that you feel like would relate to them. And then if someone's doesn't answer, and if someone doesn't answer and you make touch points, then simply cancel the call if you have the volume to do so. And always add written application or written answers in your applications. Which should be, let's say it's BizOp. Other than all the multiple choice, you should find out, okay, what is it they're doing for work, and why is it specifically looking to get into this and get help from XYZ program or mentor. And if they're just make money and they don't respond to the phone and on the phone, mark that slot as free and let someone else book over them. That's how you double book the right way without making an absolute mess with your sales team and turning it into a nightmare, right? Very, very simple. If someone has a really good form response and they're not answering their phone after a couple tries, mark them as free. Have the setters call them at the time of the appointment and let someone else book over instead so that closer could have optimized availability. But other than that, it's very, very simple. You need to dial in your messaging, dial in your pre-call sales process. On-call obviously is super, super important. You need to make sure everything is super, super important. And although this was a massive, massive information dump and a lot of this stuff sounds complicated, it is. That's why most people don't book 30 to 50 qualified sales calls every single day. And if it seems complicated and you don't want to do this all, then you could click the link below and schedule a call with me directly. I don't have a sales team that takes strategy calls for anything done for you because, again, I don't want to have, dozens and dozens of done for you clients. It's just not how my model works. We work with you. We help you make more money, and we take a percentage of the money that we make you, making everyone happy. I don't make my money from paid in fulls. I make my money from making you money. And so if you want to take an offer from 20 to 50K a month to $100,000 a month and beyond, click that link. And if you want to work on a consulting basis, then happy to do the same as well. But that's the exact process that we use on every account, that when they're ready to take them to 30 to 50 qualified sales calls a day, and ideally 500K a month plus. So with that being said, hopefully this video helped, and peace.